Hello, my name is Arthur, and in the last video we made this Browning machine gun, and I've put it onto the Jeep and gotten it working. So we'll have a look at how it's working, and then we'll have a look at how it's working. So first we'll see what it does, and then we'll see how it does it. So we'll just drive over to where we can get in a fight with our enemy Jeep here. We'll just drive up to there. So I mentioned in an earlier video that it would be good to get the guns shooting so that they're not just bang, 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 and shooting at a completely even interval. So that's what I've done. I've introduced a little bit of randomness and make it shoot like a machine gun. So it's going to shoot in bursts, and then it's going to have a little pause, and then it's going to shoot a burst. So that's more or less what I aimed for, and that gives a little bit more, makes it act a little bit more like a machine gun. So we're going to shoot off in bursts. How many bullets are in the bursts is random. And then the duration between bursts is kind of random too. That way things don't break down to just simply being a matter of who shot first. So I lost that one. The enemy's going to carry on about his business. We'll have a look at how we got that working. So for getting the gun onto the vehicle, it was really just I deleted the mesh gun and I created a scene which I could then just make child of turret and rename to main gun. So I created a scene for the Browning, gave it the compass and the muzzle that was required to get it working with the old script because it needs the muzzle point and it needs the compass. That got it working on with the old script. Now I've updated the script and I've changed the way that guns are going to be handled. So the guns themselves are going to carry their own script. So I have this one carrying its own bullet. It's not an export variable because the script is specific to this gun. And yeah, I have it generating some random numbers. So on the bigger part, I used to have it so that the turret would tell the unit to shoot and the unit would tell the map to shoot. The map still does the shooting. So let's see, that's somewhere up here. So the map still does the shooting and it still does the explosions. And that's not going to change. But I did change so that the gun itself is going to send the shoot command directly to the map. So we did that with find parent. So I just made an on-ready variable for map, had it find parent map, and it'll look up the tree until it finds the map. So basically for any level, whether it's called map 3 as a scene, the node itself at the top will need to be called map, otherwise that's going to break down. So at the top of the tree would always be map with the map script. So let's see. So where the vehicle turret used to hold the gun timer, that's been changed because the turret is no longer going to handle shooting. The turret's going to handle aiming the gun, and the gun's going to handle shooting. So in the turret script, what I've done is I've given it a new variable. Oh, that's on the unit. We got to get to the turret. So I gave it a new variable called onTarget. And probably the thing to do with this variable is to actually change it. So let's replace that. Let's see, 6 matches. That sounds about right. So let's change that to target lock, because that's going to make more sense. So let's replace all of those with target lock. So that also changes the function. We'll have to change that in here as well. So we'll get target lock. That says it away. That's makes a little more sense. I think that should be the only place that needs to be changed. That should be working again. So on the turret for the target lock, what it's doing is when we get direction for the turret, this is the turret aiming, and when it returns a 0, it means that the turret is aimed. So that used to be the point when it returned a 0 that we would initiate the shoot. Now what we're doing is we're setting the variable target lock to true if it's returning a 0, or false if it's not returning a 0. So one is the turret is aimed, the other is the turret is still aiming. And if there's no target, it falls down to else, and target lock is just set to false. So target lock is basically one of the ways that the gun is going to be knowing that it can shoot. The other way is can shoot. So it still has the can shoot variable. That's directly on the gun now though. When there's a target inside of the detect area, can shoot will become true, and if there's no target inside of the detect area, there's nothing to shoot at, so can shoot becomes false. So inside of the gun itself we have can shoot, and can shoot is still used, let's get the gun scene here, is still used by fire rate. So now on the fire rate of a Browning, I took the low end of how fast a gun like this can shoot. So they're around 450 rounds per minute at the low end. So we did the math on that. That comes to about 7.5 rounds per second. So the wait time for the fire rate timer is 0.13. And it'll shoot around 7 rounds per second. So we still use can shoot that way. So it will determine when it can shoot its next round, but it's also used in a bigger sense to stop the script from doing anything when there's no target. So when there's no target, can shoot has to be false. Then I've given it a random number. It has its shell, which is no longer an export variable because the script is specific to the gun, so its projectile is pretty specific now. So we have the random number generator, then we have a variable for its burst and its pause. So what will happen is when a target comes into the turret's radius, it's going to call set can shoot and send the value true. And if one exit, it'll send the value false. Each time that happens, it only really matters when it's set true. It will generate random numbers. So it will get a random number for the burst between 3 and 6. So that's an integer between 3 and 6. And that's the number of bullets that will come out in the burst. And then pause is a float between half a second and 2 seconds. The pause is the length of time it'll pause after it's expired its burst. So in process, it's not going to do anything unless something is in range of the turret, because otherwise can shoot will be false. So that's a way of making sure it doesn't do anything when there's not even a target near the vehicle. So a target comes in, it can shoot, it starts looking for target lock. So it goes get target lock, and the function on turret simply returns the value of target lock. So either a true or a false, either it's returning a 0, it has target lock, or the turret is still rotating, it does not have target lock. So if it has a target lock, can shoot will become false because it's still going to handle the fire rate. One is subtracted from the burst value, so one bullet is used out of this value. It starts the fire rate timer, and it calls on the map to shoot. So when the fire rate timer times out, it checks if the burst is still greater than 0, it will be able to shoot, or if the burst is equal to 0, it will start the pause timer. And when the pause timer times out, it will be able to shoot again, and it will generate a new set of random numbers. So it will generate a new number between 3 and 6 for how many bullets will be in the burst, and it will generate a random number for the pause after the burst is over. That pretty much outlines exactly how it works. I hope that explanation is clear. It kind of takes a little bit of already being caught up with how things work. So we've done this entire turret script in video already. I don't want to redo that again to put it all together with the gun, because the gun is being added on. So later on, when I have the tank functioning, this will no longer be necessary because the tank's gun will carry its own shell. And then pretty much everything else is going to stay the way that it is. I think on this script now that it no longer needs this variable. I don't think this variable is actually used anymore. So that one can probably be removed to slim it down. Because I don't think it's actually used. It was used to call the shoot function before, but the shoot function is just going directly to the map now. So this and this will eventually be removed. Next up, I'll fix the cannon on the tank, and its script will be pretty similar to this, except instead of a burst, it's really just going to have a reload time. So in the case of a cannon, to make it so it's not 3 seconds exactly between each shot, I figure a bit of randomness to the reload time would make it a little bit, give it more of an organic feel, like it's being manned by humans. So the reload time would probably be something like 2.5 seconds to 3.5 seconds, or some range like that. And then these random times, they can also be used for things like experience level of a vehicle or game skill level. So say we're giving vehicles with more experience, this number would go up. So it would be able to shoot more bullets per burst. And then the pause between shots would decrease. So maybe it would be 0.25 to 1 or 1.5. So by changing these values, we can sort of change the skill level of the vehicle. About the last thing that could be added into the machine gun is an actual count on ammunition. Now, I'm pretty sure that in this ammunition box, these would range between 100 rounds to 300 or 500 rounds. I'm not really sure. But we could set these ammunition boxes to have 100 rounds. Possibly even look at making an animation to have the rounds deplete. And possibly also have cartridges coming out when it shoots. But more for gun function, we could have it so that it runs through its 100 rounds and then has to do a reload. So we would also have a reload time on a machine gun. So a cannon would just have a reload time, whereas a machine gun would actually have a burst, a pause, and a reload time when it expends an ammunition box. And that would bring it up more in range with all of the different aspects of this type of a gun. But for now, I've just gone with the burst and the pause idea to get that working. So hopefully that explanation is clear enough and gives an idea for how to make a machine gun that isn't always shooting at that one constant rate and has a little bit of variation to make it act a little bit more like a machine gun. And yeah, a little bit less like a timer, because having it shoot at it the firing rate should be constant, but having it firing always at that constant firing rate without shooting in bursts and stuff isn't very machine gun like, and I figured that getting it shooting in bursts is far more machine gun like. So hopefully that makes sense and the explanation for how it works is clear. So we'll just come up and we'll have one more battle here. Maybe turn things so we can see the gun. I'm not able to shoot from there. Okay, there, I'm shooting now. I'm not taking any hits either. I've kind of got them from behind. So that's it for this video. I hope it's helpful, and until the next video, take care.